Alright, so this is my second time filming this because I did not like how the first one came out, and I hadn't even posted the first one, Exhibit A, on my TikTok. I was dressed what I considered cute, but I wanted to do it over again because my thoughts were a little bit unorganized. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jami. This channel is named Let's Jam. I have my reasons. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jami, and you're probably wondering why, one, I'm speaking like this, and two, where is all her hair?
Oh my gosh! She's bald! She's bald and she's torturing people who have hair!
In my profile picture of my YouTube channel, you can see that I have very nice long bob. All jokes aside, why the name Let's Jam, right? I get that nickname a lot, the second part, Jams, which is the first three letters of my name. And I had a friend who put a post-it on a bunch of shirts for me, and he knew that I would know that it was for me. And he put the last three letters of my name, Les. And sometimes that's what he calls me, which I think it's a cute nickname. And when I was thinking of a name for my gaming profile, which I don't really game that much, but I wanted a cute name anyways, I was like, Let's Jam would be really cute because it kind of sounds like, oh, come on, let's party, if you get my drift. Now, I wanted to go over why I'm starting a YouTube channel right now, as opposed to starting one years ago or just waiting a little bit longer for me to make a channel. And by the way, we're not in my closet. I live in a New York City apartment, which means I don't get a closet, which also meant I had to build one. So that's where all my stuff is in the background, stuff that I barely wear that I'm trying to wear this year. I wanted to take you guys through a timeline of everything that has happened to me in this year alone that made me realize why I shouldn't wait to make a channel and why I feel like I should have made it years ago. Picture this. I'm starting off, let's say like a month before 2025. I'm getting my Notion board ready. I'm getting my Pinterest ready, all the cute little pictures that I'm going to put in my vision board for the year 2025 because I want to do better. Every other vision board that I've had has not done so well because in the year I get a little lazy, I get inconsistent, or just get used to my routine, which, trust me, a year ago my routine really sucked. But this is a month before. I'm writing in my new journal that I told myself I would write in as soon as the year hit, but I didn't want to wait because I felt like I should have started early. It is, I believe, December 31st, and I write in my journal, Dear Diary, 2025 is going to be my year. As you can tell, it was not. 4 days into the new year, the bathroom ceiling collapses. And I'm not saying the whole ceiling, just part of it that's over the tub. I'm the one who's next to the bathroom. So the moment that it came down at 4 a.m, I'm the one who heard it. I go out and I'm like, are you kidding me? But I've been told before that when you're trying to manifest a new life, a lot of the stuff in your old life tends to fall apart. I didn't really think that meant my bathroom, right? I don't know if it's the apartment that's pushing me out so that I can get a new one. Maybe. Very creative way to do it. And then it gets worse. Towards the end of the month, I start feeling more sick. I've been coughing for like a month straight at that point. I go to urgent care, and from urgent care, they tell me that I have a mass in my chest because the urgent care near my house actually had x-ray. At that point, I did have to rush over to the ER so that I wouldn't just get referred to another doctor and have to wait even longer to get a care team created for me. Think of it this way. After I was told how sick I really was, my life felt like it was flipped upside down. And at that time, I did have friends that had suggested, hey, maybe you should start a channel or a blog or something to go along with it. But at that time, I was a little bit depressed because of the things that I was facing and the worries of what I was going to go through. And in my mind, all I could think about was bills, medical bills. They're going to start stacking up as I'm trying to heal, basically. But long story short, From January to May, because May is when I finished my treatment, from January to May, I had undergone 6 chemotherapy treatments. I don't remember how many, but I've gone through iron transfusions, a bunch of potassium transfusions because mine kept going low. There was a lot of times where I just didn't want to eat. And at that point, up to 7 blood transfusions, one of which interrupted my very first chemotherapy treatments and made my hospital stay a couple days longer. And before I forget, I also had to do a bunch of IV hydrations. I couldn't keep up. That time between January and May was very depressing. But we're here now and I do feel a lot better. I feel like conquering the world, basically. And I feel very grateful. During my chemotherapy treatments, besides getting all those other treatments on the side, I also had to get a shot done called Granix, which is to help with my white blood cell count, which I would have to take daily for 7 days straight. The thing that sucked about that is that my chemotherapy was already 5 days straight, 24/7. I would go in for a couple hours for my first day of treatment, and then I would take my chemo bag home. One of my nurses called it a chemo baby, and I was like, please let me give it back. It was a very big bag, and I think it was about 1 liter worth of chemotherapy just in that bag. I'm so sorry if you hear my roommate's dog in the background. She's trying to defend the house, okay? Anyways, she sounds like a chicken. Those Granix shots were 7 days straight, so it would be chemotherapy for 5 days straight until they would deaccess me, and then I would do the Granix shots a day later. So it didn't really feel like I had a break in between until I felt better, which is what sucked. So that was that between January and May. That's really how I felt. So I was really like, I think by the 4th round, I was thinking to myself, I really can't do this anymore. In the sense that I really hope that this 4th treatment is like the one that clears everything up and they'll just say, oh, pish posh, you do not have to do any more treatments. You're free to go. But when it comes to cancer, that is not how that works. I just realized I didn't even say what type of cancer that I have. At the end of January, I was diagnosed with mediastinal large B-cell lymphoma, which in and of itself is rare, but lymphoma itself is common between the ages of, I think, 18 to 30. The reason mine is rare is because it makes up 2 to 3% of the total lymphoma cases. So luckily, its rarity did not mean that it wasn't curable or that it didn't have a good prognosis. So I feel very lucky that I only had to go through the 6 treatments to begin with. Now, what was strange, or what I'll say is what I felt really lucky of and what I was really, really afraid of, was getting sick during those couple months where I was receiving treatment because of my white blood cell count. Most of the time, I would go in, get my blood drawn, and I could see my results right away, and my white blood cell count, she was up there. She was at a good level. I was afraid of getting sick, so a lot of times I would maybe see my friends a couple times in the month, or I'd just go straight home. That way I could isolate myself and not get sick, but also that did get a little bit lonely, so I was really glad that I have the friends and the family that I do. But back to getting sick. I did not get sick during that time. What was interesting is that I finished my treatment in July and August. I ended up in the ER for different reasons. So during those times, I ended up in the ER about 3 times. The first time that I ended up in the ER, I was feeling this pain in my chest. I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt like I did like a really bad chest and back workout, basically. And I didn't go into the ER until a little bit later, like basically a couple days later, until I couldn't take the pain anymore. And they said that it might have been some sort of inflammation between the ribs. I'm not quite sure if I remember correctly what the diagnosis was that day, but I ended up going home because the chest pains were actually getting better. And then my friend came in from another state to visit us as like a whole group. And it was really nice because I was able to hang out with her and I didn't feel that pain until she had gone back to her house and I started feeling that pain again. And because I remembered what I was told in the ER, I let a couple days pass thinking that it would get better. But the key thing was that my oncologist had told me, if you ever present with fever, you have to go to the ER right away. In adults, fever is all right because, you know, the body's fighting something in the body.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But when it comes to a cancer patient, having a fever is not going to go well. It's not a good thing. So usually they recommend patients go to their closest emergency room. I chose the one where I usually like have my clinic around because in case they had to contact my oncologist, I would just rather be nearby in case they had to come down and see me. So the second time around, I went into the ER. They told me that there was fluid around my heart and they thought that they were going to pull out 50 cc's of fluid when they did the procedure because it was a no-brainer. I was like, let me get the procedure. I was in the ICU, the CICU, the cardiac ICU to be specific. And I was like, let's just do it. And it was delayed by a day. So that's where I was worried because I didn't want another day with just that fluid sitting around there and all that pain. But they were prioritizing me as much as they could. And eventually, when we did go in to get the fluid out, they pulled out 750 cc's worth of fluid. Yep. They kept like a drainage inside of me for a little bit longer, maybe like a day and a half, to see if any more fluid came out. And the good news was that no more came out. So they had gotten that fluid out, and I have gone back to my cardiologist to do echoes. I have gotten a bunch of echoes done in between, and it looks like the fluid has not built up. So that's the good news. After that, I guess the pain medications weren't, my body couldn't handle them, and my kidneys, creatinine levels were going up like crazy. So I spent an extra week in the hospital. So for that visit, I was there for 15 days for my second visit. After my creatinine levels were going down, I got downgraded. And they call it downgraded, so like they're moving you to a different level where you can get observed and make sure that you are basically like cleared to go home. So I got downgraded twice, and nobody likes hospital food, so I was very excited to get out. The best thing about the hospital were my nurses because they were the absolute best, and I love talking to them. Even when I wasn't too happy at the time, but they gave me super positive vibes, so that's how I knew that I was gonna get better, and now we're here. So the third time that I ended up in the ER, it saddened me a lot that I was back there again because a week had passed after I had gotten released from my second visit. And then this visit, I was there for about a week, I'll say, or maybe a day short of a week. This time around, you want to know what got me? The rhinovirus. And I'm not talking about a virus that you get from a rhino. No, I'm not talking about that. It's a strain of the common cold. And, anybody else, the common cold would hit and you would get the sniffles and, you get a cough and sore throat, maybe a fever. A fever is what got me back in the ER again. And this time I was coughing, but this time it was painful. I was feeling chest pains again, which is what got me worried. And I was like, oh my God, the fluid, it is back. But it was not. It was just a cold. And I had a lot of pain in my back and my collarbones for some reason. And this time around, I won't get into too much detail, but it's just another week that I spent there. And again, nurses and doctors were great, and they were able to get my fever down. It took about 5 days to break the fever. A lot of ice packs, a lot of medicine, cooling blankets that I didn't know were a thing until I was there, like a literal machine next to me, pumping cold air into a blanket. I loved it. It was great. But the main thing besides the pain that sucked was that I spent my birthday there. I had a birthday planned and we were going to Japanese barbecue, and I didn't get to do it at that time. It would have been great because it would have been a good group of friends, but it's all right because I can always make it up next year. And some friends have already made it up for me by taking me out to dinner and stuff, which is great. And I had visitors during my birthday with presents, and it made me feel nice. Presents and food, which, you know, a lot of food that I couldn't eat because my appetite, you know, your appetite isn't that great when you're in the hospital. But yeah, a lot of friends came by. I'm very happy. But since I got out of the hospital, I have been feeling a lot better, and I have been much more careful with going out. I wear my mask when I'm out. I make sure that my hands are clean, always washing them, always using hand sanitizer, limiting contact with large groups of people, which is what I have to do because the last thing I want to do is end up sick and in the hospital once more. I sound like I'm giving a PowerPoint presentation when really I want to make it sound like I'm having a nice chat with a friend, and even with friends, sometimes I sound like I'm giving a PowerPoint presentation. That is the reason why I wanted to start a YouTube channel, because it's shown me that although I'm young, waiting is not necessarily a good thing always. Sometimes we shouldn't wait around to do what it is that we're passionate about, or, you know, a hobby that interests us, which is what this is for me. It's a hobby that I've been interested in. I've been wanting to learn how to make videos or YouTube videos. I've been wanting to learn how to edit, and I've always just let the idea collect dust. Same thing goes for hobbies that I've done in the past. Drawing, which is something that I want to pick up again. Reading, which is something that I have picked up again. I've been reading while on the train ride to work and home. And picking that up has made me feel so good. So this is why I'm doing something like this, because I think waiting around for, you know, to look perfect, to have the perfect apartment, to, I don't know, just for everything to feel like it's in place, it feels like it might take forever because nothing will ever be perfect. So my advice, even though this is my very first video, is to just start now. Just do it. Don't wait for anyone. Okay? Now, this is just my introductory video because I wanted you guys to get to know me. I wanted to create weekly vlogs of my daily life, my very boring but cozy life. And if it's something that you want to watch whenever you're bored, we can be bored together. And it could be a video that you even put on in the background while you're doing homework or cooking or trying to fall asleep. I can help with that. I would love for you to subscribe and like, and I promise I will get better as time goes on. I might not be consistent at first, something that I'm definitely working on, but I will try. Hopefully this video is not like super long. I think I talked about everything that I wanted to. Now, one last thing before I leave. I wanted to mention, instead of 2025 being my year, it ended up being the year where I had to start over. And that's not a bad thing, especially with us being young. I think starting over at any age is all right, especially when you get sick, as I did. Something like cancer really forces you to slow down. And although I was sad during that time, it did force me to slow down and take a look at my life and made me realize that there are changes that I wanted to make in my life and that I shouldn't wait until those changes are made into reality. And I could fail, but don't you fail when you quit, right? I think that's what I heard. Usually you end up failing when you quit, not when you keep trying over and over again. So, like I said before, if you want to follow my boring but cozy life, please go ahead and subscribe, like the video. That way it can get pushed to other people and we can create a little community of, you know, boring, cozy people. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.